Hi, Lisa K. Donner here, editor-in-chief of LibertyNation.com. And with me today is Scot Peterson, our legal affairs editor. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Lisa.
Well, I know you've been keeping close tabs on the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting and basically everything that's gone on with it. There have been some new developments. Can you talk about those a little bit for us, for our audience?
Well, chiefly Scot Peterson, 1T, Scot Peterson has been arrested and charged with multiple felonies and basically facing a slew of charges for his dereliction of duty on that massacre day.
You know, I'm wondering, what did he do? I mean, where was he? And could you tell us a little bit about that before we get into his background?
Yeah, so it's important to think about this high school not perhaps as a high school like you went to, or certainly one like I went to, which is a sort of main building with some athletic fields, and that's about it around it. This is almost like a college campus because of the size and construction of the high school. It's a campus, really, a high school campus. And so Mr. Peterson was elsewhere on the campus, not at the same building where the massacre took place. And at the sound of the gunshots, he then went on a golf cart to the building, but then he waited outside for the entirety of the massacre, didn't go in. And in fact, Lisa, he told other officers who arrived on scene to wait and not go in and to remain 500 feet or yards outside the halls of the school.
Why?
Cowardice is the only thing that I've seen speculated on that makes any sense. There was an active shooter in that school. It does take a brave person to confront somebody who's actively shooting, and the much maligned or denigrated Broward County Sheriff's Office, Broward County Sheriff rather, Mr. Israel, who's no longer on the job, basically said you can't teach bravery. Now, that may be true, but you can maybe weed out cowardice, and in this case, that wasn't done. And Mr. Peterson allowed, certainly some number of students would have perished in any case, Lisa, but some may have been saved. And if he was anything other than a coward.
All right. So what has Mr. Peterson been charged with?
He's been charged with multiple felonies regarding the deaths, chiefly, Lisa, of the people on the third floor of the building. And I think the thinking from the prosecutors is, just like I mentioned, those initial deaths may not have been preventable. But if he had done anything to engage the shooter after he was able to, then some of those deaths certainly wouldn't have occurred. We know from some of the evidence gathered that it was only a matter of seconds that really cost those people on the third floor their lives, which is to say that they were in the process of getting out of Dodge, fleeing the gunfire and the massacre scene. And if they were aided or by having the shooter delayed for a few seconds, which certainly Mr. Peterson could have done if he engaged him, even if he wasn't successful in killing him or shooting him, right? If he just presented some obstacle to the continued killing, that may have helped save those lives.
All right, not to denigrate security people, but this guy wasn't a rent-a-cop. He was a real cop. Is that correct?
He was, absolutely. He was a law enforcement, he was just a regular cop stationed at that school.
What is his background, Scott?
He's a longtime police officer, and he was a school resource officer there for a very long time. I don't have the number of years, but that's where he spent the last part of his career. So
does Broward County put the guy that's got one foot out the door, in charge of watching the kids, or what's the deal?
Lisa, I've had some comment from local police officers, and typically the school resource officers are not held in they're not the hard charging type, which of course is the exact person you need if the worst goes down. You want somebody who I would think that the citizens of Broward County, I have to think of what my own wants would be in a school resource officer, which is to say, do essentially nothing. Don't be involved in the day-to-day lives of the students with police interaction. But if something really important happens, spring into action, right? And sort of the exact opposite with so many of these, especially in South Florida, which we have ongoing interaction at the low level with parking tickets or dragging kids, who backtalk their teachers. But yet when lives are at stake, we have this.
All right, so I guess we have the picture. This is no Dirty Harry. What's the likely outcome here?
Well, he's charged all total. Lisa, it's just under 100 years time that that he could go away for. But I don't think that's realistic. The smart money bet is, I would say, the perjury charge. One of the charges doesn't concern any of the deaths or the shooting, but about him lying about it afterwards. And I think that's the charge that's most likely to stick. As is typical with most criminal cases, there will be a plea bargain. That's just playing the odds. I imagine if he's able to keep his pension and not do serious time, he'll just plead to whatever. But we'll have to wait and see as the wheels of justice grind on this one.
All right, thank you. Scot Cosenza, legal affairs editor of LibertyNation.com. Hit our website, Liberty Nation, early and often. I'm Lisa K. Donner. Thanks so much for joining us.